Alright, well that wasn't good, as the Eagles clearly dropped the ball and the Falcons didn't, making the Philly D look like Swiss cheese and just playing more physical. Yet even with a little intensity, there's a lot of questions. Like, why didn't we see more Dallas Goedert? And will Howie Roseman's move for Jahan Dotson pay off? Plus, Bryce Huff admitted something pretty concerning, and the Eagles could be adding another edge soon. However, why is that not the option, and which one should be the bigger move they make to fix the pass rush? So let's talk about it, but first, let's not pass it, let's run it. What's up, guys? Okay, thank you, because the channel passed 75,000 subscribers, and I'd be feeling a little bit better about that had the Eagles won. Nonetheless, we are going to give away this Isaiah Rodgers signed helmet on the Friday night live stream, so stay tuned, more details to come. However, like I said, it's a very mixed feeling, because I definitely thought we'd be celebrating Zay play last night, which I'll get to eventually. But come on, it was Nick Foles' night with the official home opener and Jason Kelce on the broadcast. Like, I know I wasn't alone in thinking surely they don't screw this up based on the comments beforehand. Yet clearly, those of us on that side were wrong, as Philly turned what was a 99.3% of winning at this point in the game with only 156 left in the fourth quarter into one of the most insane and unbelievable drops ever. For real, based on next-gen stats, Monday night's loss was the 7th most improbable loss since they started tracking that data back in 2016. As Kirk Cousins and the Atlanta Falcons only needed 6 plays to go 70 yards in basically about a minute, thanks to 0 pass rush and shoddy pass defense. And oh yeah, the play calling was pretty suspect as well.
Nothing has changed. Nothing.
They had the game in their hands, okay, and they blew it, which is something that they've been doing a little bit more regularly than we suspected.
See, I thought things were supposed to change. Yet even after the Falcons scored to go up 1, there was still 34 seconds left with Jalen having 2 timeouts. And the first play was promising, since a Goedert completion got Philly into position with 1 timeout remaining. Plus, with Jake Elliott range, that meant the Birds were only about 15 yards away. But unfortunately, QB1 dropped back to pass and attempted a deep shot to Devontae Smith with 2 guys in that area, with an overthrow resulting in an interception and ending the game.
Hoecht calls for the football. Here comes a blitz from the Atlanta Falcons. Picked up well. Hoecht steps up, throws, left side. He's got Smitty, and it's intercepted. Game over.
You gotta be kidding me.
What the hell? Do you ever have deja vu, Mrs. Lancaster?
I don't know how many times we have to live through this. I mean, the Eagles now lead the league in blown leads under 2 minutes to play since last season. Not a huge surprise given the collapse we witnessed last year and inexcusable coaching decisions. Yet this year was supposed to be different. Okay, I hear you, it's still early, and yes, I'm not giving up on it, but I've heard and seen so many comments already to say the coaches should be fired, the coordinator should be fired, and yes, they made some terrible decisions. We'll get into more of that, but come on, it's only week 2. But I still will say I'm pretty concerned. Because first off, let's start with the fact that A.J. Brown told Lisa Salters during Monday night's game that he'll be out at least a couple weeks with a hamstring injury, meaning the upcoming Saints game is out of the question. And we could be faced with a similar situation in the playoff game last season the following week, which yeah, we all saw how the offense fared without Swole Batman in the lineup. But on a positive note, the play calling should be at least a little better than it was last year. Yet you can't deny seeing Jahan Dotson only get 1 target for 6 yards in a game without AJ is a little worrisome. Now, I'm not saying I'm ready to punt on him either, but what the heck is up with the lack of usage? Like, I wouldn't have believed it, but Jalen Hurts threw to Britton Covey more than Dallas Goedert and Dotson combined. By the way, I'm not knocking Covey because he had a solid game. It's just that when you trade a 3rd-round pick for a guy, you'd expect Dotson to be more involved. I don't know, maybe I jinxed it again by making the video suggesting number 83 is about to be unleashed in Kellen Moore's offense.
What happened? I thought you said you had it together. You were solid.
Sorry, it's just that whenever Sirianni and others made the suggestion that Dotson was ready to go and ready to make an impact, I bought it. Wait, maybe that's why it didn't happen. Look, I know the head coach is going to talk positively about just about every player on the roster, but if the 24-year-old doesn't become more of a focal point or at least threaten the defense on occasion, we're going to have serious problems. Yet when it comes to Monday's game, the offense was good enough to win. Sure, they can definitely be better. All right, fine. Technically, the Eagles could have and probably should have taken the points on their second drive, especially with hindsight being 2020. However, personally, I don't mind them being aggressive and going for it on 4th and 4 from the 9. Bigger issue for me, though, is the play call, since Philly had been running the ball right through the Falcons' defense the entire drive, until reaching a 3rd down inside the 10, but decided to not run the ball with Saquon Barkley. Granted, I've seen the argument that Jalen might could have kept running on a scramble and pick up the 1st down, yet considering how the O-line was blocking, I think you could have just powered it through for a score. Now, having said that, I know it's much easier to sit here and play armchair quarterback, and certainly there's different nuances throughout the game, although if you're not going to get anyone else involved in the passing game besides Devontae Smith, then how about let's run it? Speaking of which, the new merch dropped. And in case you want to help create visibility for the run game, or maybe you just want to support the channel, then go check out that design along with several others that Thomas and I recently launched. FYI, I've got a link below in the comments as well as in the description if anyone's interested. Anyway, continuing on the topic of running, Jalen Hurts looked different. Despite a slightly timid start, QB1 eventually hit his stride, ripping off several big gains and showing a willingness to fight for extra yards, as number 1 finished the game with 13 carries for 85 yards and even got into the end zone via a vulturing of Saquon Barkley score. Again, I know we didn't win, I'm just trying to find the silver lining. Because we had heard all throughout camp about Jalen looking faster and back to full health, so to see that element create problems for the defense was refreshing. At the same time, I get it, it's a double-edged sword. Like I want that two-dimensional aspect of Jalen's game, but man, it comes with the territory. Yet it did feel like once Hoecht got going that it made the RPOs more effective. Except, well, as we saw, the Eagles ended up having nearly a 30-yard difference due to continual penalties on an ineligible lineman downfield.
This is a run-pass option. So you're run blocking right here. And now how is Jurgen supposed to know that Jalen pulled it right here and threw it? It's a run-pass option, RPO. Like a bunch of guys are downfield. Like what is the line supposed to do? Nobody ever tells me that. Like how they're supposed to play it if the quarterback pulls it from the running back and throws it. Tell me, Kelsey, because you guys keep making the same mistake up front.
I had just about had it with those penalties last night. By the way, Kelsey did respond in a later tweet saying that he admittedly hated running RPOs because they have you run blocking timidly, although he did also concede that they help bail you out of a lot of bad run looks too, so it's understandably part of the game. Look, I don't know who's more at fault. You could argue, yeah, sure, if the offensive line stayed engaged with their blocks, then maybe they're fine, but either way, those penalties were extremely costly, contributing to the Eagles putting up only 7 points in 4 possessions in the first half. Now, fortunately, they had the lead, but I'd argue it didn't feel like it, with the Falcons seemingly getting whatever they wanted on the ground. Like it didn't matter whether it was Bijan Robinson or Tyler Algier, the running lanes were a mile wide, as either running back had nearly 3 yards before they were touched, let alone brought to the ground. And say what you will about the lack of pass rush, don't worry, we'll get there. But this thing starts with the run defense, which by the way, has given up 315 yards through the first 2 games and ranks dead last in yards per carry with 6.4, 31st in yards before contact per rush, and 29th in yards after contact per rush. So yeah, not exactly a surprise to hear Fletcher Cox call out the fellas afterwards, texting several of them that they've got to play better. And although it's just week 2, Fletch said the play is completely unacceptable. No doubt, I completely agree, and I think there's a lot of us. However, shout out to Eric, but the alignments Fangio utilized were crazy, as you continually saw the D-line make life easy for Atlanta, while also making pass rush moves on rundowns and seemingly playing the run on passing downs. Plus, despite the linebackers racking up a decent amount of tackles in this one, the play was not nearly as good as it was in week 1, with both guys vacating gaps or over-pursuing, which ended up leading to big gains. Look, I know we saw this against the Packers, but the thought was, okay, the field is bad, the slippage there, everything else, the pass rush will be better, the run defense will be better, it'll all get taken care of once we play in Philly. Yet obviously that didn't change anything. I mean, I really expected Jalen Carter and Jordan Davis to play well. Except it might be hard to believe this, but maybe Thomas Booker is the answer to what we'd hoped Jordan Davis would provide, since Anthony DiBona shared that Booker was on the field 6 times during Atlanta runs and limited them to only 6 yards during those plays. Meanwhile, when he was off the field, the Eagles gave up 146 yards on 22 rushes for 6.6 yards per carry. And let's be honest, when the offense can run the ball like that, it totally changes the dynamic of the pass rush. Yes, the pass rush is totally a concern, but I mean, that is terrible. And then that gets worse if Jalen Carter isn't consistently beating one-on-ones. Now sure, he did register a couple pressures, yet the Breadman was mostly held in check by Chris Lindstrom until late in the game, which obviously can't happen if Fangio's only going to rush 4. Come on, you rely on your guys to get to the quarterback and they just weren't able to do it. Also, I get the counter-argument for trying to blitz more or try to do anything possible to get to the pressure, but when you can't stop the run and you're dealing with a pass rush, it feels like you're kind of in no man's land and really helpless. Sure, maybe they should implement that, but back to JC though, I don't know if the slow start from him was the fact that he didn't start the game or what. But apparently, according to Jeff McClain, Carter was held out of the first series because he was late for something team-related last week. Still, the DT ended up playing 46 of the 61 snaps while finishing with just 1 assisted tackle. Having said that though, yes, we hold the Breadman accountable, but let's just pump the brakes on people starting to say that he's a bust or there's serious concerns for JC. He's going to be okay. Also, kudos to Milton Williams, who came up with the team's only sack and played pretty good along with Thomas Booker. Yet amazingly, that was it on a quarterback who's basically a frozen statue, thanks to the Achilles injury that he's not 100% on. Yes, I was upset to see BG not credited with 1 sack either after Nakobe got a holding penalty negating the sack. However, the worst part is that like Jordan Davis said all the way back when Fletch retired, nobody's coming to save him. And let's call it like it is, this D-line is bad, ranking 27th in sack rate and 23rd in QB pressures to go along with the atrocious run defense. As Josh Sweat told DJ Smith that the unit just isn't rushing together and they're not on the same page with everyone, while echoing that if the group's not doing it together, then it ain't gonna happen. Yeah, I'm with you, I hate hearing that, but then also it makes me think about, we basically heard the same thing last season, so this is really alarming to have these kinds of signs from the defense. Plus, now fast forward to signing a $51 million edge from the Jets and Bryce Huff, and you'd hope this wouldn't be an issue. Except Bryce Huff doesn't sound confident in the scheme, conceding that he still needs to figure out what he needs to do as an individual and what the entire unit needs to do to get pressure.
I control what I control. At the end of the day, I'm going to do everything I can, practice in the film to get home. So regardless of what pressure there might be, I'm going to attack my process as well as I can and really find ways to get better.
Bryce, you mentioned your arsenal. You wanted to bring out more moves to kind of help get things going. Why do you feel like you've maybe not been able to get things going in terms of using different stuff?
I just need to get my ducks in a row as far as what my process is on the edge. Not be so antsy just to burn the edge. Know that I have to sit on my rushes with power. I need to work with my guys on the inside to get more pressure with a switch up, whether it's a game or a stun or some type of play that we can run to mix it up. I just need to do a better job in general of being locked in and being able to, I guess, offset what they've been trying to do with the chips and just do a better job in general.
Look, it's good to hear the accountability, but it's time to see it. I mean, you're looking at a guy who's had 0 sacks, 0 tackles for loss, 0 QB hits, and only 1 assisted tackle through 2 games as an Eagle, which is basically like the equivalent of pulling a Tony Snell for those in the know. Now, I'll also say I typically try to not go overboard and overreact. So I get it for those that want to bring up the fact that Haason Reddick had 0 sacks and just 4 tackles through 2 games in 2022, yet finished with 16.5 sacks that season. But I don't know, this situation feels different, with Huff telling the Inquirer that he still needs to find himself in the scheme. And I mean, I somewhat get it because Fangio's system does create challenges for pass rushers, especially ones that haven't been asked to handle with a bunch of different responsibilities, but you did go out and pay for this guy to come onto the team. Yet in fairness, the DC certainly wasn't blameless with the fronts he used. Although Nick Sirianni didn't mince words about ultimately what it comes down to.
We can call whatever we want. It's going to come down to our fundamentals of how this is football, and it doesn't matter what level you're at. It's how you tackle. It's how you defeat blocks. That's how you get, you pierce the line of scrimmage. And then we got to be able to make sure we put them in positions to succeed. And there's plenty of ways to do it. Sometimes it's, with 5 down front. Sometimes it's with a 6 down front. Sometimes it's with the pressure. Sometimes it's with secondary pressure. Sometimes it's with blitz 0. Sometimes it's moving the front. I mean, yeah, we got to do what we need to do to help put them in positions. But it's not just ever, hey, do this to stop this. I mean, that's just not how football works. There's many different answers, and we got to find the right answers and help put the guys in position, and the guys got to make plays.
I mean, he's not wrong. While it does go both ways, it definitely comes down to the players quite a bit. And heck, if we're 2 games in and the Eagles' edges only have 1 quarterback hit combined, that's a problem, which definitely stirred up the question of bringing in some reinforcements on the D-line, as Pro Football Network's Anthony DiBona threw out a couple different targets, including Jadeveon Clowney in Carolina, since the Panthers are clearly the worst team in football and recently benched Bryce Young to go with Andy Dalton. So the team hypothetically could be willing to move on from the 31-year-old for the right price. And considering that they don't have a great track record in trades anyway, maybe you do trade for the 6'5", 266-pound pass rusher, who had 10 sacks just a season ago. I know it's pretty bad to say this, but Clowney would become one of the best pass rushers on the team if that happened. I mean, combine that with his run-stopping ability, and it certainly couldn't hurt. Of course, Anthony also threw out a couple other names like Michael Hoecht from the Rams, Yannick Ngakoue out of free agency, granted he's coming off a season-ending broken ankle injury he suffered last season, or even Tyus Bowser from Seattle. And then yes, Haason Reddick is the other guy mentioned there as well. However, whenever I think about this list, I can't imagine how he's going to try to work something out and bring Haas back and then pay him $25 million per year, especially if a trade potential was on the table for, say, $10 million per year with Clowney. But I will say this, I'm still trying to be realistic. I don't think that a move is going to happen immediately, but the leash has got to be incredibly short at this point. How about you, though? Is there a particular name that you like? And I guess the better question is, what's the best option or most realistic option that the Eagles go with to fix the D-line? By the way, just for the record, after the Eagles had waived Patrick Johnson, Tom Pelissero reported that the Giants officially claimed him off of waivers, meaning the lack of quality edge play just got even less. However, the Birds did actually host former Houston Cougars UDFA David Anenih, as the 6'2", 245-pound edge rusher was in Philly for a workout, and as Anthony DiBona pointed out, could make some sense given his former connection with linebacker coach Bobby King when the two were in Tennessee. Yet at the same time, Anini's basically just another body since he's bounced around to 5 different teams while seeing some reps on the practice squad, meaning you might want to change something because he's not the answer. Again, I don't want to sound the alarms yet, but heck, at this point, why not throw in Jalyx Hunt and see what he could do? Because no one else is seeming to get the job done, especially on the edges. Except for maybe BG, who along with several other guys owned up to the mistakes with the players taking the ownership.
We all was talking about just things that we know we need to work on. And now, this is what we got to work on. And it's 2 games in. We 1-1. I didn't like that we got ran on, like you said. It's like it was one of those days where we bowled up in the end, where we kept them out the end zone as much, and then we just dropped the ball at the end, especially in a moment where, as a defense, you want to be the last one on there to help the offense get the win, secure the win. And we can toss so many different things out there, but the main line for us is we can't have 150-yard rushing, in no games and think we're going to win. and as a defense, and that's just us challenging ourselves. And so I know what we need to work on, and I know how it goes here in Philly. It's a tough day. A lot of people burning right now, and I get it, but I know that this team, I believe in this team, man. It's about getting everything together. I mean, I know all these guys that you was naming, like Jordan Davis and them guys. I mean, I know they take it personal because last night, just talking to JD, I know that he like, man, my bad, I got you.
Good thing is it's a wake-up call for sure. It's a wake-up call to never get lax with anything, with anybody, no matter what week, who's the opponent. Treat everything like very important. Treat everything very important and continue to just harp on the details and get better each week.
I really like a lot of things about it. It's just really us as players. We just got to continue to keep getting better and better. The coach is doing a great job. That last play for sure, coach put us in a great position for us to make the play. I really just fucked that up. I just got to be better on that because I should have made the play.
I appreciate Slay owning up for the mistake on London. Just like Q also said it was his fault late for not getting enough depth and recognizing the out from Mooney on the final drive of the game for Atlanta. Yeah, be that as it may, the Rook played well outside of that one hiccup, and clearly has the outside spot locked down with Isaiah Rodgers mysteriously active yet never seeing the field. Also, big shout out to CJ Gardner-Johnson for making a really good stop on Bijan Robinson in the hole on a 4th down run. Yet while that play was showing up big time, CJ's missed 5 tackles in 2 games, putting him tied for the 2nd most missed tackles in the league. Obviously, he's got to be much better there, but the biggest topic coming away from the game is, yes, the big call, 3rd and 3, 4th and 3, what are the decisions late in the game there, with the play call to Saquon being scrutinized by everyone. But come on, had 26 caught that pass, would hardly anyone have been saying anything about the play call? I know, he didn't catch that pass, therefore giving the Falcons plenty of time and eventually leading to the loss, which is why I understand the logic behind just running it once they got to that point.
Why even throw it? I mean, you watch this right here, like Makai's just throwing people around, Dickerson is just knocking people down, like, Saquon's just stiff-arming people. You just watch this, like down, around. Makai goes down, Lane goes down. Here comes Juergens on the kick out, and there goes Saquon. Like, you just watch play after play. Judon in a sink right here, and Makai's just going to reverse shoulder block him. And Juergens is pushing, and Saquon's got a gash. Like, one after another. How about quarterback power? All right, Lane and Makai right here just throwing people around. Like, Anyamata is on the other side of the hash marks right here. And Jalen goes right up the middle. It's play to play to play. How about just Juergens and Dickerson going to work right here? And Makai, just the interior, like just a complete puncture wound. Like you're all the way up to the free safety right here. And then they just started pulling Makai. They ran this play 3 times in a row at the end of the game. Like they should have run it a 4th time. Like he's just knocking people down. Saquon goes. They run it again with 1 minute and 51 seconds to go right here. They can junk it up in the middle, but when you run this play and Makai's just knocking people down, Saquon's gaining 4, why not just run it on 3rd and 3? Run the same play. Let Makai just knock all the pins down. I don't know. Sometimes I just think they just overthink it. Like, just put the ball in this group's hands.
Okay, looking back, I do wish that they had run it, but again, hindsight's 20/20. At worst, though, you're looking at a situation where, say you don't get it, then they have, somewhere around 50 seconds, a minute, not very much time. But I also can't totally knock the play call either, because again, it worked. The player just didn't make the play.
Dropped the ball. Let my team down today. Shouldn't have put the defense in that position. Made that catch, game's over. Relax, went back to my old habits, and just got to go back and get back to work.
By the way, sticking with that play, Saquon might not have even needed to make the catch. Since shout out to Landon Holyfield, but the O-line potentially had a chance to end it.
Watch this. 3 seconds. Look, Goedert knew it. He pointed at him. He was like, we're going to try to draw him off sides. He knew it. Nobody jumped. Look at him. He's still mad. And then watch Sirianni. They jumped over there. Then he's yelling at his team. He's like, get your head in the game. He knows. That ends it. It's the little things, y'all.
That's really close and kind of hard to say. I mean, yes, you could argue one way or another. Is he in the neutral zone? Maybe, maybe not. Also, Nick Sirianni in the press conference afterwards said that Fred Johnson had nothing to do with him getting upset or yelling there. Again, who knows? Maybe he's just covering up for Fred Johnson. Regardless, it did sound like the head coach may have questioned the play call.
Every time it's 3rd and 3, say you're going to run it, right? You got to teams obviously pick up on that. If you're every time you're 3rd and 3, you're going to run it. Every time you're and set yourself up for 4th down. So sometimes you got to throw quick. Sometimes you got to run it. Sometimes you got to set yourself up. Sometimes you have 2 opportunities to get it on 3rd and 3 with 2 passes. Sometimes you have the opportunities to get it with runs. So again, we can't just be so predictable that we're going to say, hey, every 3rd and 3, if you're in 4-down mode, that you're going to run the football. That's just not realistic in this league. There's too many good coaches in this league. Hey, it didn't work in this particular one, and I'd like to have those back.
Just to clarify on the calls, though, Kellen's making, that
Kellen's the
pass,
offense
that
coordinator
pass, right?
Kellen's offense coordinator makes the calls. Yeah, if you're trying to stir that up.
Rule him on those.
Yeah, I'm the head coach.
Okay.
Let's please not stir up anything like that yet. Yes, lots of regrets everywhere, but in an attempt to find the positives, here's what I'll say. There's still everything ahead of you. Remember, Dallas lost a blowout to New Orleans. Although sure, now we got to go down there, and playing in the Big Easy ain't going to be easy. But Baltimore isn't any kind of guarantee for the Cowboys either. Plus, Hoecht did look good, consistently beating the blitz while putting up a 75% completion percentage and showing more confidence in the offense. Like, let's get one thing straight. This loss was not on Jalen. Sure, you have the final pick at the ending there, but he was solid overall. Either way, the hope is the players can look themselves in the mirror, make adjustments, and come back motivated against, the highest scoring offense in the league. I know that feels unlikely at this point, but let's try to remain level-headed and just see how it goes. All right, let me know your guys' thoughts in the comments, the good, the bad, the ugly, everything. Until next time, this has been the Philly Special.